Hello and welcome back to another episode of BadbolaMola. This is episode number 5 and we are up for a lot of changes, clearly. Now this story is from a very interesting part of my life, which was class 11th and 12th, and which in my case meant the time for preparing for college and preparing for JEE. Fun fact, getting into an IIT or pursuing engineering wasn't even my plan A. My plan A was to go to this IB school called United World College, but I screwed up my interview so royally. So here I was chasing my plan B, which was to stick to the education that I've always been in. The next choice was somehow an obvious one for me. I definitely knew I did not have the patience it takes to become a doctor. And my sister was pursuing commerce, and I clearly did not like whatever it looked like. I had always been fascinated by machines, by how things operate. I remember as a child, I used to obsess over these shows, how things work, how things are made, these mega factories and whatnot. And I loved maths. And at some level, my parents also hoped that I would go and follow PCM and become an engineer. And to be honest, I did not have any other calling, so to say, at that point. So there I was, this very passionate aspirant, drawing notes of what I will make when I get into an engineering college, with these hinges and screws and making bobby traps and whatnot. I really did not have any clue what goes inside an engineering college, clearly. Looking back, I feel that our exposure somehow influences our dreams. Even in spite of the hype around computer science and everything, it never sort of called out to me. And I always just wanted to be this mechanical person who, like this falls, leads to this and all those kind of things. And so I was just very happy pursuing science, pursuing physics, pursuing maths. At an overall level, I really enjoyed preparing for JEE. And I remember I loved the topics. I loved how Bujo and Paheli from the NCRT were also suddenly talking sense. Like pre-10th class Bujo and Paheli are these stupid people who do whatever. I don't know why do they even say things. But suddenly they were also talking smart stuff.
Bonvita.
Bonvita?
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 Huh?
Science felt so much more real, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I wouldn't say it was all rosy. There were all sorts of ups and downs, and I doubted myself a couple of times. And there was this entire stress which everybody has felt about the whole idea of getting in or getting a good rank. But I'm very thankful that in totality I had a very nice support system. I remember my room had become this entire mission statement and one table and like a small bed in one corner just to crash whenever I want to. And like this huge green board where I just write dribble things and solve problems and keep questions and just keep myself in that energy. A very important part of my JEE prep was a lot of water. I remember my mom used to just keep bringing water every once in a while, and at the end of the day she used to go back with like a couple of bottles and go fill them again and bring them back to me. I had a bomb of a time preparing, and I had this hate-love relationship with so many subjects at different points of time. You know how an adult introduces a child to a dog and they have to make the child confident that it will not bite, and
शैम्पू आकाश भैया आए हैं आपके ब्रदर.
I think that is the kind of relationship I had with me, my teachers and my subjects. Since childhood, I have loved maths. I remember me and my cousin, we used to race like anything, writing, counting and nothing else, just giving each other maths problems. And that used to be like a maths party. Like you throw a question and start solving it and see who does it faster. My dad is a maths teacher, so I think that is also that influenced. But I absolutely fell in love with maths, how my teacher from my coaching taught it to me. Rahul sir changed the way I saw maths. He made me a visual thinker. Half of his class was not even on the board, was not even problems. It was usually an air board where he used to just tell us, ये देख रहे हो, ये ऐसे बढ़ रहा है तो इसको क्या होगा, and all of that. And literally, like we could see that happening in front of our eyes.
This is like creeping me out.
He had this brilliant technique of starting any chapter, any topic from the simplest 2+2 question and taking it to the most complicated question that exists in that concept. And it all felt like a story. Like, of course, this is the next step. Of course, of course, of course. In fact, on and off, I have taught maths to a couple of people here and there. And my teaching style also comes from him. Like, I think he really influenced my teaching style. And while all of this was true for almost everything that he taught, I fell in love with two chapters at another level. One was graphs. In fact, apart from this series, I would love to just record one session on graphs and just pour my heart out in teaching graphs. The other topic was permutation and combinations. I think just the way how he visually taught PNC, I cannot think of anybody doing it that well. I could just see the combinations, I could just see everything happening, and I think for that I am super grateful to him. My other maths teacher was Pawan sir, who gave me this beautiful flavor of the strengths of maths. In fact, I have this notebook called the Exclusive Benefits Notebook, which had these bomb questions that Pawan sir used to give me, and they just kept me very excited about the subject. Like, I was always very cautionately told that do not get into all of this and it may, confuse you. But I was like, I am ready to take that risk. I was absolutely falling in love with maths and all of these problems. Fun but very scary story that I barely crossed the subject-wise cutoff for maths in the final paper, and I was a close miss. I had 3 physics teachers who defined my relationship with the subject. First and very crucial part of it was Vivek sir, who was my coaching teacher. He is one person who has taught me to look at things from the very basic. I have never seen a more patient and more concept-oriented teacher in my life. And I think for that I am super grateful. Even today when I have to just talk physics, I go and have a conversation with him. The second teacher has a controversial story. I'm talking about Professor Walter Lewin from the MIT Open Courseware. And I loved studying physics from him. The way he taught concepts, I don't think anybody does. The way he draws those lines, it was crazy. And I remember I used to try that at home. But he was exposed for sexual harassment when the Me Too campaign took over. And yeah, that was that. And third, and my very favorite, I'm sorry, but this is my story, is RP sir. And he was my physics professor at school. And he just changed how I... He was so much more than just being my physics teacher. I felt so comfortable just opening my heart to him. I felt so comfortable sharing my insecurities with him. And he had the most... It's a peaceful vibe. Like, his smile and his energy just always made me very chill. Okay, ho jayega. And we have a very funny journey from beating me up on the beach in Goa on a school trip to actually sending his students to my Safe Space Studio event earlier this year. He has always been there passively, directly, but always been aware and informed. I remember even when I was in college, every Diwali I used to call him up and we used to have a catch-up session. I think what he did brilliantly was that he prepared all of us for the exam more than just teach us. Sometimes he just used to tell us that start an exam 30 minutes late. No problem, start it 30 minutes late. This is not your final exam, but you do not know what may happen on the final day. So have a test run of that. There was this one time when he said that let's not switch on the lights and the fans and just solve the paper in Garmi, solve the paper in no light and just see what you can do. Be prepared for every sort of thing. What if there's a very talkative invigilator in your class? Just be ready for any sort of exam scenario. And I think that is what exactly happened. I remember on the day of my mains exam, I woke up very enthusiastically and I just did this to look at my alarm clock and my neck got stuck. And this is exactly how I went to give the JEE mains paper. And I remember I was working like this and I was in a lot of pain. But that day I always kept reminding that he had prepared us for this and I got this. And what happened? I got like a very good score. I was the city rank 1 or 2 that time. He was unconventional in a lot of ways. Like there was these times when he would say that, okay, do these problems and we'll solve doubts tomorrow. And then he would do that thing for like over a week or 2 weeks. Like he wouldn't just solve doubts. And he's like, ab kitne doubts hai, ab batao. And on that day, he would just solve everything with us. And in that time, we realized that the doubts were legit happening. Like it was just a matter of time. And he just did not spoon feed us. Another very important role that he played, which I now understand, is that genuinely he talked about mental health. I did not know that it was a mental health conversation back then, and he would just ensure that we are not too stressed and we have our own ways of coping, and it really made a difference. Like around him, I was always a little more calm. And for that, really, thank you, RP sir, if you're watching this. I absolutely love what you have done in my life. Now, for chemistry, I had a very complex relationship. I remember in 11th, I barely got anything. I did not perform very well also in 11th. But eventually, I got the hang of it. Like class 12th onwards, I really enjoyed chemistry as well. The first introduction was Subramaniam sir, who is my class teacher in 11th and was my chemistry teacher. I think he just made it very simple for us. And at the start, it never became a problem understanding the complexities of chemistry. The second is my coaching teacher, Gurpreet sir. I think he was this one person who kept me very enthusiastic about the subject. Because there's this whole conversation that goes around in the coaching industry that, do not go too much out of the syllabus. If you want to read up, do it sometime later. Pursue it life mein, baad mein. You'll get all the opportunity. Don't do it right now and all of that. But I think he always kept that kida in me alive. Like I used to do all sorts of random readings. I read up Peter Sykes. I read up whatnot. And I just went to him and discussed those things because that is what kept me excited about the subject. And he had a very unique style. Like he always made it very funny. He always added a lot of jokes. And I enjoyed studying from him. I'll tell you a very secret weapon, okay? That whenever I was in an examination and I was absolutely stuck, like I had no clue of what to do, I had these dedicated teachers to crack dedicated questions. And I remember this was mains ka chemistry ka biochemistry ka question, and I had absolutely no clue of what the answer should be. So what I did, I just used his spellings on the ABCD that Gurpreet sir rocks, and I stopped on one answer. And believe me not, it was the correct answer. That is what we discovered later. And it has really worked on its own charm. So yeah, that's the kind of value I attached to Gurpreet sir and what he taught me. And then there is this absolute wonder lady, Sangeeta ma'am, who made me a big badass with respect to chemistry. I always then knew how to make my way around it. Apart from teaching chemistry very wonderfully, she taught us how to make our own hacks. Like, she did not gift us those hacks, like WebGear and all of that, which we now know, that is what it stands for. She gave us the tactics to make our own hacks. And I picked a language for myself. I was making these visual diagrams in the air from which I understood everything about chemistry. In fact, I made these multiple charts, the finger movement of which I understood. Like I knew if I do this is what it stands for. This is electronegativity ka pattern. This is is cheez ka pattern. And I made my entire understanding around it. She was also very vocal about the fact that the subject has a lot of exceptions and one has to learn them. There is no going back from that fact. And that is what I did. I learned up a lot of tables. I learned up values which had not a lot of explanation. Like you can make an explanation because the value exists. And I remember like when my paper was checked by somebody, they called me that saying that in your mains exam, you have got only one question wrong in chemistry. I was like, I can tell you the exact table from NCERT. I can tell you each and every value. And I know this question is correct. And it was. And I got like 180 on 180 in chemistry in mains. And I think I absolutely loved that feeling. And again, just like RP sir, she's also been this person who cared a lot about the well-being and cared a lot about our overall feelings. I remember she was also very concerned at a time that I may be falling for this one person in the class and that I should just be, cautious. And that it was really cute. So yeah, thank you Sangeeta ma'am if you're by any chance listening to this video. There is this one teacher and this one subject which is not the most talked about when you're discussing JEE coaching or preparation, which is my English teacher who was also my class teacher in my class 12th, and that is Parul ma'am. And she became my confidant at that time. I think I felt very safe sharing my feelings and my insecurities at that time, and she always knew her way of how to cope up with it. And it's just her presence that makes me feel so warm. And she was there even at my sister's wedding, and she's become family by some nature. And I think I really want to give a shout out to her. Genuinely, looking back, I feel I was very lucky with a lot of my teachers who just did not transfer knowledge but know how to teach. And I think it's a beautiful gift. Also, a big shout out to the staff who was there at my coaching. They were just so helpful, like, just arranging a doubt class or just getting things done for anything that we needed. In this time, I also developed a hobby which eventually became a part of my art, which was the art of making notes. I remember at night when our family would used to go to sleep, in the one room that we had an AC, I would sit in one corner with a chota sa lamp, and over there I would sit with all my art supplies. Literally all of my art supplies, and start making notes. I would do these little doodles. I would leave comments. I would take down jokes. I had these different flow diagrams to make myself understand what's happening. It was like I had made this encryption language between us, and I could read that note and just get everything. I could recreate that entire lesson in front of me. And every couple of months, I remember I used to take down everything that I've taken. So all test series, all papers, every mistake that I've done, and I used to take down the best of that information, refine it, and create a new set of notes. In fact, something which I love doing today, and I used to do back then also, is that I love giving names to things. So I had this Fast and Furious notebook, this exclusive benefit notebooks, these secret weapon notebooks, and whatnot. In fact, very funny and very shady, but I had this one thing called as the toilet notes. And I remember it became a morning routine. I would get up, I would go to the washroom with that diary, and I would do my morning business while revising the entire syllabus of 11th and 12th. There's this one thing that RP sir used to say, which was that do your preparation and make your notes as if you are getting ready to revise everything 10 days before the exam. And I think all of this sort of stemmed out of that. Apart from the teachers and subjects, an important part of the preparation was also my peer group. Something interesting that happened was a lot of pre-11th friendship became chotu because they were figuring out their own stream, we were doing our own shit, and a lot of PCM friendships started to foster. And a big victory in my case was that I found my best friend, and that was Sana, who was also my study buddy. We have basically spent at least 70 to 60% of our waking time on earth at that time, being with each other, studying with each other, listening to each other tell about inorganic chemistry and describe the tests. She was this one person to whom I owe a lot of my clarity that I had during my preparation. And she would bring back these questions and these thoughts which would bamboozle me. And I would go back and study again, and then we would have a conversation. And I think just to help each other understand things, we spent a lot of time on the topics and we got a very good hang of them. She was this very meticulous person who kept our preparation on track. Like she said, targets, timelines and all of that. In fact, we used to joke about that I had to take permission from her to go to the washroom while we were studying together. Funnily, she also knew how to chill being disciplined. Like she had these times after which we would not study, or she used to take out these dedicated hours for us to, just chill, just, go out somewhere or eat something or, just catch up in general. And I think it did like a very good impact on my overall well-being. A very interesting fellow who came out in this time was Akshit Chandra, who was a very funny part of my life. There were these conversations that we used to do. He took life and preparation at his own pace. There were these times when I'm like, yeah, I did P block this weekend. He's like, yeah, I did nitrogen, which is basically a tiny part of it. And he was very comfortable with it. And I think like at that time, I would always give his example to people. In fact, I still do for people who talk about it. That you do you, and that is the best that can happen. Now, Akshit also introduced me to a friend of his, which is Karthik. And together we had a very fun time. Like after every test series, we used to go out on these drives. We used to go out to these different places to eat food and just do very silly jokes, like very important silly jokes to keep ourselves sane. In fact, there's this one long drive that we went after a very important test series. And we had decided that whenever a good song comes, that is when we'll take a U-turn and go back to our place. And the song just always kept on coming bad and we never turned back. And at a point we realized that we were very low on fuel. We had finished our money on momos and we were very far from home. It was so funny to reach back that day. And these are just some times which kept me very happy in all of this journey. While there's this whole culture of not going to school too much during the coaching years, I absolutely loved going to school. I was also the head boy, so just getting ready for school with that badge was also a beautiful feeling. And school just became a very catching up place because a lot of days attendance was low. So we would just sit in groups in classes and do our own thing. There were these two peers who inspired me so much to enjoy the subject. Piyush was full on about maths and Tribhuvan was so interested in physics. Me and Tribhuvan would used to sit in RP sir's class में एकदम first bench पे जाके and just have this entire heated conversations with him. I am still in touch with him and the crazy amount of things that he does. And it's really inspiring to have that network of people and to know their journeys. A very important part of my friend and influence circle that time was my coaching batch. And we were these 10 people about whom I used to think as Power Rangers. Like each of them had their superpowers. One was just so brilliant with concepts. The others just knew how to solve problems just by, looking at the options. I remember that a bunch of us had found this, thoda chindi but very tasty street food shop called China Hot Pot. And every long class that we used to have, we used to go there and eat like a family and feast our hearts out. And it was just a lot of fun catching up with these people. It was a very healthy, competitive batch. And I think I always look up to them and the kind of stories they have. Of course, I cannot miss to mention how much my family supported me this time. My sister was this one person who always stood for me on days when I deserved a break, and she would take off a lot of house responsibilities so that I get to do my own thing. My dad really ensured that I get everything that's needed. In fact, something that I got to know later was that the coaching fee that is supposed to be paid in a particular way, my dad had internally talked to them for a very different and much easier payment schedule and just ensured that that doesn't become a problem because we've had our own times financially, and I really can't thank him enough for that. And my mom has been very aware and informed of my journey all this while. She could see times when I was distracted and she sort of course corrected me. She could see the times when I was not feeling very well and sort of helped me through it. She always knew that I was always thirsty and brought me a lot of water. And it was because of all of these inputs from all of these people that my journey is something that I can talk about so happily today. Re-emphasizing what I said in the start with a pinch of salt that I in no way promote being into an IIT, going to an IIT or spending 2 years of your life in the JEE coaching industry, because I really want you to question if it makes you happy. Because today I'm being able to tell this story so happily and with so much enthusiasm because firstly I got in and I think that just makes everything look worth it. B, I genuinely enjoyed the process. Like every waking day of my life then I loved doing what I was doing. I of course hated thermodynamics, fuck you thermodynamics, but I genuinely loved my entire process. And I think that is what I really wanted to share and land. Make sure that you are feeling the energy. Make sure you're feeling the passion on things when you're doing it. Because honestly, otherwise it's not worth it. It's not worth it. No matter where they promise it ends, it doesn't look this well when it's not a story you love. So thank you so much for listening to this. It's been a long episode and if you've made it through here, I thank you. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, share and just keep yourself notified. And I'll see you in another episode of BadbolaMola, which is a countdown to my birthday. Bye bye.